Welcome back! We've started exploring the environs of this second island, which we've deemed Jungle Island, and so far we've found quite a few intriguing things. First, two wooden eyeballs that made strange noises and had weird symbols on the back. And in the jungle, we located what appeared to be an idol that was a very stylized representation of a Whark. Also, when we exited the jungle, we got spotted by this guard tower right here. I guess he's warning somebody nearby that we're here for some reason. Although how in the world he got up there, I have no clue. Well, it's time to move onward and see what lies ahead. I like the mood lighting in here. Ooh, now what's this? Well, it's kind of hard to see it, but from what we can tell, it's a mural of a guy with a star above his head, which looks like a very crude version of Gen's symbol. This guy is holding two smaller people, upside down, above what appear to be a couple of very hungry fish. Those fish have tusks at the front, a very humped back, and large fins at the rear. And that can only mean one thing. They're Wharks. If Gen is feeding people to these things, that gives me even more reason to want to trap him in that prison book. Also, you might recall all the way back at the temple earlier that I was speculating about whether the Wharks are real or whether they're just mythical creatures. If they're mythical creatures only, then it would make sense that perhaps Gen was just using the idea of them to keep the villagers in line. But if he's actually actively feeding people to these things, well, that would even more explain why the villagers are afraid of them, and lend even more credence to the possibility that they exist. Well, it appears that we found a village here on this island. There's some kid over there playing on that dock, and it looks like his mom is coming to pick him up. I guess these people really hadn't quite gotten inside after the alarm. It's really quite sad, though, that they don't seem to want to talk to us. Well, we're in an entirely new area, so let's get over to that dock and look around. That looks like a good vantage point. Well, on the left here, we can see that there's another pathway above us, with some sort of ladder that appears to drop down. Now, remember in the jungle, we saw a bunch of pathways that were above our heads, and some of them appeared to lead to that dome that we couldn't get to. So maybe this is connected somehow. Over here, on this side, we've got some sort of platform. It's circular, and it looks a little bit more ornate than everything else around here. Whatever this is, it's probably something that could be attributed to Gen. Down in front of us, we've got some sort of strange abnormality in the water. It's a hole, a literal hole in the water. But how in the world is that possible? Well, whatever it is, it looks like it's being used as a stop or a platform for something. In fact, if we look underwater here, we can see some tracks. Perhaps these are meant to serve as some sort of transportation system. From this point, we can see that there's another building that's perched high there in the rock area. And there's another small building over there that looks very squatty. But here's something rather curious. In the middle, there's this tiny island. And it's got this little scope or something coming out of it. Could that be a camera and is Gen watching us? If so, then that's really creepy. Yeah, we can get a closer look at it here. I don't really like the look of that thing. Even the fact that this thing looks round, it's almost as if this thing is supposed to rotate. Well, let's continue onward and see what the village has to offer for us. Maybe some answers. Maybe we can talk to some of the people here. Although, given what we've seen so far, I don't know if I'd count on it. Well, there's a house right here directly in front of us, so let's try knocking on it. Well, that didn't do much good. Let's just keep on knocking. Hopefully somebody will answer. Hey, we're new in town. I was just wondering if you could... Oh. Aww. Looks like no one's gonna talk to us. That's a real shame. Well, the only way we can go is over here. Looks like there's walkways all around us, but we can't really get to them. Let's move up here a bit more. We can get a nice view of the village from right here. And you can see that there's pathways everywhere. Although how to get to them, I have no clue. I suppose you'd have to go through people's houses to get through everything. But of course we can't even get to one house. Well, there's some really interesting machine right here in front of us. I'll investigate that in a minute. Let's check out what else is here. Right here we have a golden representation of the Whark, with the tusks and the arched back and fin. And two, I guess these are drums? Whatever it is, it appears to be some sort of ceremonial worship ground. And yet another piece of evidence suggesting that the Rivenese really respect this creature. Ooh, and we got some sort of oven or something here. Mmm, tasty. Well, let's not keep this waiting anymore. My curiosity can't take it. Okay, that was a cool sound. Alright, we get a nice view of the village here. Maybe we could drive this thing around. Or the controls don't work. Well, come on, that's not too much of a surprise. Hardly anything ever works when we find it around here. Well, there was a lever right next to it. Maybe that provides it with power or something. Or it could just lower it down somewhere. Let's see where it ended up. Well, from what we can tell, it went down into the water. But look all around it. We can see some of these tracks, both behind and in front of it. That at least seems to suggest that this vehicle is supposed to run on those tracks. Well, we can't really go down the cliffside here, but at least we've got a point of reference to remember for when we explore the rest of the island. From here we can also get a good view of that platform, though we still don't know what on earth that is used for. Well, we've seen all that there is to see here, so it's time to backtrack and check out that other path. And by other path, I mean all the way back when we came to that fork right after the tunnel near the maglev station. I'm calling that tram maglev because it operates on magnetic levitation. You may have already noticed that when we had boarded it from Temple Island and it zoomed right into the station. Well, so far we've discovered quite a few interesting pieces of information. We know that the villagers don't really want to talk to us, and we know that there's several areas in here that we haven't really been able to get to yet, particularly around here. Notice that there's a path right here. That would appear to suggest that it's connected to everything we've seen in the jungle. In fact, we can see a little bit more of it right here. But just what is it used for, and how do we get there? Ah, so many questions. Well, let's see what's down this way. Ooh, there's animals down there. Let's check them out. Looks like they were pretty startled, even though we were way back over here. Well, I don't really want to bother them too much. So I'm going to take it easy on him. Kind of looks like they're a cross between penguins and dinosaurs with those long necks. Hey! I know that sound. That was the roaring bark sound that we heard in that wooden eye in the forest. Oh, he's yawning. Let's see if he makes any other noises. But given that these creatures like the sun, I think I'm going to call them sunners. They're so adorable, aren't you guys? Look at you. Aw, we scared him off. Oh well. Let's take a look around the lagoon here. This would be a nice spot to just stop and enjoy a snack. Whoa, wait a second, what's that there? It's another wooden eye. Well, that was very curious, for two reasons. First of all, that sound almost sounded like a whale of some sort. But even more curious than that is the symbol that was on the reverse. We've seen that before, haven't we? It was a symbol that we've been seeing all along on Gen's star. But just what kind of creature was that? Well, if you look in the shape here of these rocks, we can see that it resembles some sort of fish-like creature. But check this out. This big rock here has a very humped back. And of course, you know what kind of creatures we've seen all this time that have humped backs. And those are the Wharks. I suppose this rock here could be a tusk, even though it's not all that long. But that eye is definitely in the place that an eye of a real fish would be, much like the frog that we saw earlier. I guess whoever designed this thing must have been the designer for Mario Kart 64's Koopa Troopa Beach. But one thing is on my mind, though. If that symbol that we saw on that wooden eye means Whark, and if Gen is using it on his star, that's kind of scary. Well, from here we can see another guard tower, though I suppose he's not sounding the alarm because we already alerted the other one. Trying to see if I can get a good look at it. Yeah, here we go. It looks like this one has a door in it that we can actually see, though. So maybe a ladder can actually come out of there. And here we get a nice view of that plateau where we lowered down that machine and we saw that oven and stuff. So you know what? I'm guessing we're pretty close to that point where we lowered that thing. And there's some sort of sand or rock pool here, with another wooden eye in it. This is the fourth one we've seen so far. Let's see what sound it makes. Well, that was a sound we actually have heard before. That's the sound of the beetle that we found on that gate post near the jungle. There's also some sort of spigot here. The way that water flowed out seems to be intentionally shaped like a beetle, much like the other silhouettes we've seen. And the eye would be in the place of a beetle's eye, if this is a beetle viewed from the side, which, given the fact that this seems to be the curved portion that we always see the beetle from, that would make sense. The symbol on the back of this eye also looked curved, like a semicircle. Well, let's go down further here and see what else is here. Ah, this looks familiar. It's the little plank here, under which this vehicle sits. So it appears that this thing is some sort of submarine. Well, that's pretty handy. Well, there's only one thing to do, and that's experiment with it. And we'll do so in the next video.